What's up, Trainiacs? Welcome to this week's Triathlon News Day Tuesday from a different angle in the garage because we're moving a lot of things around. But let's get into what's happened this past week. It was a heck of a week. We have new Hall of Famers for Ironman. We saw, unfortunately, what is one of the biggest goon shows of a race that I've really ever encountered, and a new book, a great book. Our book gets into the Amazon store. What's up, triathletes? Welcome to this week's Triathlon News Day Tuesday, where every single Tuesday, as long as I'm not traveling and there is news to talk about all around the triathlon world, we go over what's happened over the previous week. As always, make sure you stick around to the end where we share everyone's favorite part of Triathlon News Day. That's a story from the Trainiac community, and for all of you busy moms out there, this is one that you're going to want to hear about. And as always, links to everything that we talk about are going to be in the description below. Let's start off with the announcement of 4 new inductees to the Ironman Hall of Fame. 2-time Ironman Kona winner Tim DeBoom, 2-time world champion, silver medalist in the Olympics, and 2006 Kona winner McKeely Jones. Kenneth Gass, who competed as an amateur in Ironman Kona and then brought Ironman to Lanzarote, and 40-year Ironman Kona volunteer and 32-year swim course director Jan War are all going to be inducted into the Ironman Hall of Fame, which is done typically at Ironman Kona itself. Congratulations to all the inductees, great folks. Now let's talk about the goon show that was the Tokyo Olympics test event. Now it wasn't just one thing, it wasn't just 2 things, but multiple things, day after day. Make me wonder, at what point do you determine that a test event is a failure, and how do you deal with this? Or do you wait and see what all of the failures are and then change for the Olympics? Because they can't change where the Olympics are going to be held. So first off, they had to shorten the run course from 10K to 5K. Now this is fair, this happens quite often depending on conditions, but what was put into question by some pro triathletes out there on social media is that the conditions really weren't that tough. It was about 90 degrees with 82% humidity kind of weather, like still very difficult, and yeah, it is kind of in the range of what you would say as too hard, but we've certainly seen tougher, longer events in, say, Ironman Hamburg, when it was well over 100 with huge amounts of humidity, and they didn't change the run course for that. But what is a little bit different about ITU is the level at which these athletes are racing at. It's much, much more intense, so the body heat increases. And is it suitable and different to change that? Well, they are pros, and what this one pro said on social media was pros should be able to compete for 10 kilometers at a high level in those conditions. But it didn't just stop there. We got to go to the other camera for this. With the women's race, Jessica Learmonth and Georgia Taylor Brown, 2 athletes from Great Britain, ended up racing out to the front of the race, and either one of them was going to be the winner at the end of the race. Now, in the week leading up to the race, Great Britain had announced that for a Great Britain female athlete to make the Olympic team, they would have to win. Now, when these 2 athletes came to the finish line, instead of trying to outsprint one another, they held hands, crossing the line at the same time. Was this to create a fictitious winning tie where both of them would be able to make the Olympics? Don't really know, and they haven't really commented on that. But one of the rules in ITU racing states that athletes have to race to the best of their ability and not create an artificial tie for any placing, or they will suffer disqualification. The result? They both got disqualified. Flora Duffy ended up being announced the winner of the race. Congratulations, Flora. And the future of, are these 2 athletes either one of or neither going to be able to be on the Great Britain Olympic team? We don't yet know. So talk about your all-time biggest backfires. Now, personally, I think that that's a very harsh sentence to hand down, a full disqualification and not making the Olympic team. We don't know if that's going to happen. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this whole process. If you know about it and you've thought about it, let me know in the comments below what you think about this disqualification. The Goon Show does not end there. On Saturday, the para-triathletes ended up racing and the entire swim was canceled because the E. coli bacteria levels in the swim course were actually 4 times that of what the ITU states is an acceptable range. Now, why did this just happen overnight where athletes were competing just the night before in that same swim course? Well, we don't know, but in any case, the course was shortened. Like I say, at what point do you consider a test event a failure and have to completely start over? Well, if you're Tyler Mislawchuk, it certainly wasn't a failure. Tyler Mislawchuk is a Canadian athlete who grew up just 15 minutes literally right in behind you there from us. His dad, Fred, has actually worked with No Triathlon Kim, and he won the event in a really exciting sprint finish where he had some of the most insane running pop at the end of that 10K that I've ever seen. So super huge congratulations to Tyler, and yeah, very interested to see what he does in the Olympics. Now, it doesn't end there. There were also crashes on both the men's and the women's race. A lot of the men were slightly banged up, but Katie Zafiris from the United States, the top-ranked female, the favorite going into this race, got insanely banged up and had dozens of stitches in her lip and did not look good. So, is it the course when you've got both men and women crashing and crashing very severely going into barriers? Now let's get into some of the results. It was a little bit quiet on the Ironman scene. Ironman Copenhagen was broadcast on Ironman Now. It was a pro women's only event, and we got to see Annie Haug, one of the best runners in the sport, set a new female course record going 8:31:32. Now this is really making a statement leading into Kona, where she was last year's third place podium finisher, and she's getting herself in those discussions of the Daniela Reefs, the Lucy Charles of the world. They're flirting with that 8:30 kind of time. So this is going to be a really exciting year for Kona. Also, small shout out to Philip Herbert, who ended up winning the men's, the overall amateur division. Philip is Zwift Tri Academy athlete who we met in California a couple months back, and he won in 8:19. Damn, that's fast. But in Ironman racing this past weekend, all eyes were on Mont Tremblant, where Lionel Sanders and Sarah True, 2 huge fan favorites who, due to circumstances of injury or heat in Hamburg or just circumstances of life and the new Kona qualification system in general, still did not have their spots for Ironman Kona. And Mont Tremblant was the very last place that they could have qualified. So all pressure was on. They had to either win the event or finish directly behind the winner of the event, who already had a spot in Kona. Fortunately, Lionel Sanders went out to the front of the bike, raced most of the race out front, only to be caught in the last several miles by Cody Beals, who ended up setting a course record, being the first male to go under 8 hours at Mont Tremblant. On the women's side, Sarah True came out the front in the swim, rode at the front for a little bit, then got passed by Carrie Lester, and from the rest of the day, it was kind of a struggle to see Sarah on the Ironman tracker just slowly go further and further back from Carrie Lester. Meanwhile, the third place athlete was getting closer and closer. It's kind of the nature of Sarah's situation, having to race 3 Ironmans over the course of 2.5 months to try to get to Kona. But in the end, she ended up placing second and qualifying. Congratulations to her. Congratulations to Carrie Lester, who also set a course record, being the first female to go under 9 hours at Mont Tremblant. In the Triathlon Taren Podcast, we just released a podcast covering the 3 key requirements that beginner triathletes need to address in order to get comfortable and capable and confident in the swim. And this comes after we just released our book called Triathlon Swimming Foundations, which we've actually, in just, I think, the 2.5 weeks since we put it up on our website, we've sold almost 1,200 copies. Just a couple days ago, it went live in Amazon stores all around the world, and you can go pick it up by searching for Triathlon Swimming Foundations in all the Amazon stores. Now, when you get the book, it also gets accompanied by a bunch of free videos that you can go and download. So when you read the book, you know how to do all the drills instead of just having some text of here's how you do a drill and a picture. You can go and get free videos that accompany the book, and results have been pretty good. The feedback has been good from all those 1,200 people that we have been talking to. And this coming weekend, we will be publishing a podcast interview that we did with previous Kona world champion Pete Jacobs, who is now back to racing competitively, and he's doing so on a carnivore diet, all meat. The only things that pass his lips: meat, fish, eggs, salt, water. Wild, right? Now, let's get into the Trainiac story of the week, which comes from Sue Thorne. And Sue says, "Hi Taren. I started running at the age of 29 to cope with postpartum depression. I was never an athlete in high school as I was always short, 5'2.5", don't forget the half, and small, 100 pounds soaking wet with no coordination skills. I never raced, I just ran 3 or 4 times a week with friends. In 2006, my husband lost his job and we were forced to move to Timmins, Ontario, where we knew nobody. Even though this northern town experiences 8 months of winter, the athletic community is amazing. I turned 40 that year and I ran my first half marathon race in a time of 1:51. Also that year, I went to watch the Timmins Heart of Gold triathlon sprint race and was fascinated and inspired, and a new dream began. The next year, I did my first sprint distance triathlon in Timmins, completing the race on my mountain bike in a time of 1:34. I kept doing sprint and Olympic distances over the next 5 years, and I slowly improved my swimming and my biking, all while running around after my daughter in competitive dancing and my son, who played basketball and hockey. My husband travels a lot, so I often had to play the role of a single parent. My dream, though, was still to tackle the longer distance. Last year was huge for me as a mother and an athlete because my youngest went to university and I was left with some spare time on my hands. The Timmins triathlon community were all going to Mont Tremblant, so I signed up to do the Olympic distance race. With a big difference this time though. I was going to be the best that I could be. I bought an indoor bike trainer, lost 10 pounds, and had a great race, coming in 4th in the 50 to 54 age group. The result gave me the confidence to sign up for my first 70.3 in Mont Tremblant 9 years after my triathlon journey began. I'm happy to say my race went amazing. I finished in a time of 5 hours, 32 minutes, coming 13th out of 120 women in my age group. And the best part was that at 52, I finished the half marathon portion of the half Ironman in 1:50. Faster than what I ran my first half marathon in 9 years earlier. So to all you moms out there who love triathlon and are struggling for time, relax. Spend time with your kids now and swim, bike, and run when you can. Do strength training and yoga. And trust me, when your kids leave home, there will be lots of time to accomplish your triathlon goals. I just seem to get better with age. Sincerely, Sue Thorne. Awesome, Sue. Thank you so much for sending that in. That's a story that we haven't heard. That patience is a great thing, because if you approach this sport not as I have to check everything off my bucket list as soon as possible, and you look at it more as a lifestyle and you can get to things in the appropriate time based on your life, you can have huge successes like you have after really just a bunch of years of building up base and understanding the sport, and you're going to be a better triathlete for it when you get to crossing off those bucket list items. So congratulations, Sue. And to be perfectly honest with everyone here, that is the last Trainiac story that we have in the archive. So please send in your stories to Taren at triathlontaren.com, whatever it is. It can be a story about being a parent or a business person or somebody who's lost a lot of weight. Anyone who's in this sport overcomes their own personal struggles, and we get tons of messages from people saying that these stories help motivate them. So please share them. Taren at triathlontaren.com. Email them in, include some race photos, and if you aren't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button below. And go check out our book on Amazon, Triathlon Swimming Foundations. Later, Trainiacs.